Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom, shalom. Please bear with me. I got certain things I gotta switch over, shift over. Please bear with me. Switch over, shift. Causing a lot of stumbling blocks out there, you know. It's like you said, the bar. Shalom, shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I want to give all praises to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Akakodash. Yahweh is the Most High God, and Yahushai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus the Christ, right? And I want to give honor where honor is due to all the elders and the apostles, the deacons, the captains, the soldiers, especially in Great Millstone, starting with Elder Tahara on down, that been ruling well through the Spirit, right? And of course, the hopeful elect who scatter four corners of the earth, regardless whatever congregation, what color you rep, and Lord willing, the Most High have you to endure constantly on the highways and byways and doing sit downs to the best of your abilities. And for the wives and the single ladies out there that's playing their roles as wives, right? Lord willing, the Most High have mercy on the other brothers and sisters that's not in the truth. The title of this, Lord willing, this is a quick and plain, straight to the point demonstration, right? Lesson, to be exact. The title of it, if you see it on the screen, it says, "The best history is in the Black and Latino, Hispanic, and Native Indians." This is where the best history is at. And that best history, of course, you're going to find it in your Holy Grail, the Holy Bible, man. Book, chapter, verse. So before we even, I'm not going to really tackle a lot of things. I'm going to just read something that was inspiration for me to start this lesson. So Lord willing, y'all can see my screen. Shalom, shalom to all the brothers and sisters that is in the chat now or watch it later on. So I'm going to go to Sirach 44 in the G&T, right? And I think we're going to read down to verse 18, right? It says, "So let us now give praise to godly men." When you read in the KJV, it says famous men, our ancestors of generations past, right? So like y'all, our generations past, those who Yahweh Ba'ashem Shai honored with great glory, and in whom his greatness has been seen from the beginning of time. There were some who ruled kingdoms, and some who were known for their strength, and some were wise advisors. Some spoke prophecies. Now, this is all. Guess what? Every person in this one whole sentence, they're all, even in the second sentence, is all from the same spirit, right? You had rulers, you had people that ruled kingdoms, right? After King David, right? You had 19 kings or 18 kings for the south, and you had like about 20 kings for the north. Damn near every king in the northern kingdom were bad kings. And then on the southern side, it was only 8 kings, I believe, out of 19 that were actually good kings, right? But it's all of the same spirit. And some who were known for their strength, right? Of course, you got Jephthah, you got Samson, you got it was another judge before Gideon, right? Of course, Judah. Shoot, I'm gonna even say Jacob because he wrestled with an angel, right? And the list can keep going on, right? Some were wise advisors, right? Some spoke prophecies, like we could say Ezra, we can say Jeremiah, we can say Isaiah, you could say Daniel, you could say Ezekiel, you can even say Mashiach Yahushai, right? Let alone even the apostles, right? Even especially John the Revelator, right? The one John that wrote Revelations, 1st and 2nd and 3rd John, right? It says there were statesmen whose policies governed the people, rulers who issued decrees, scholars who spoke wise words, and those who used pointed proverbs, poets, composers of music. See, this is how you know Israel, we thrive music. Rich and powerful men living peacefully at home, right? You got a lot of us poor. Every man don't have to be a ruler or a governor, a freaking politician. You have regular rich men back in the day and powerful men. Look, David, Abraham. Before they even built a monarch, these were men that had wealth, even Lot. It says, all of these were famous in their own times. Yes, Abraham in his own time, Noah in his own time, Moses in his own time, Jacob in his own time, freaking the Judah, Benjamin, Levi, every tribe in his own time, King David in his own time, Isaiah in his own time, honored by the people for of their day, right? And guess what? We're in a time right now where people don't recognize the things that the men of the Lord are really doing, the real men of the Lord, because we've been blind. We don't even know from a prophet. We don't know a prophet from a crackhead, right? And this is why you want to look at the attributes of your forefather, right? It says some of them left a reputation and people still praise them today. This goes into the lesson that I had yesterday when it goes into a good name, right? I think I got the precepts. I have a few of the precepts. I have a few precepts in my handy dandy notepad. When you look at Sirach 41, 12, and 13, it says, have regard to thy name, for that shall continue with thee above 1,000 great treasures of gold. A good life have but a few days, but a good name endure forever. This is why we're still in 2023 talking about our foreign fathers, the real righteous prophets and apostles, the wise men, the scholars, right? That held it down for Yahweh Shem Shai. Proverbs 22:1. A good name is rather to be chosen than great riches, loving favor rather than silver and gold. You had men that was rich and had wealth, but it's better to have a good name, right? Colossians 2:8. Of course, people that don't want a good name, of course, they're gonna bring forth deceitful philosophies. But people that want a good name, or people that's trying to be wise as a serpent, you have to watch out for these. Colossians 2:8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men and after the rudiment of the world, in not honor after Hamashiach. You start following vain philosophies, you're not going to have a great name. You might think you do when people following you, just like Christianity. Like my brother Sam said in Romans that he brings out, Romans chapter 10, verse 2, they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. Men through the spirit that want a good name are working to work the approval of Yahweh Shem Shai, they're going to pursue a good name. Isaiah 40:31. But they that wait upon Yahweh shall renew their strength. They shall mount up the wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Our foreign fathers was trying to please the Lord. Hey, at the incoming of Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, guess what? The hopeful elect is going to be able to mount wings as eagles, and shall run and not be weary, and shall walk and not faint. Right? Last one, Ecclesiastes 7:1 in the GNT. A good reputation is better than expensive perfume. The day you die is better than the day you are born. Right? That even shows when Mary was I believe Mary Magdalene washed Hamashiach Yahweh Shai feet with her ointment, and you had Judas that betrayed him. It's like, man, we could have sold that and got money from it, right? A lot of people is trying to look at wealth and money and expensive things, but men and women of the Lord are looking for a good reputation. A real woman that want to be in this truth, want to be recognized as being wise, or being shamefaced in this ministry, right? Being kind, right? Let alone is better to die than to remember your birth, which everybody wants to boast about their damn birthday, right? The Lord willing, I die believing and walking in the name of Yahweh Shem Shai, right? So back to this, we're gonna read verse 8 again. Some of them left a reputation, and people still praise them today. That is a fact, right? It says, there are others who are not remembered, as if they had never lived, who died and were forgotten, they and their children after them, right? When I go to this verse, right, I'm gonna show you something, right? And I'm gonna just go straight to where I want to go instead of, you know, trying to give you a whole heap of, right? It said there's some people that actually died we don't even know. And I always think of this in myself, because what if it could have been me? It could be me. I could have been one of these persons, right? Uh I'm gonna start at verse 47. It says, they were commanded to build pagan altars, temples, and shrines, and to sacrifice pigs and other unclean animals there. They were forbidden to circumcise their sons, and were required to make themselves ritually unclean in every way they could, so that they would forget the law which Yahweh Shem Shai had given through Moses, and would disobey all his commands, which we do right now. We forget the Lord's commandments, law, statutes, and commandments that was given to Moses. We disobey his commands because we love the world, right? First John chapter 2, verse 15 to 17. The penalty for disobeying the king's decree was death, right? And this is a miracle. There's a lot of actors, rappers, even people in the government that say, oh, it's cool that you believe in God, but don't always talk about it. You know, they want to push away that you don't speak about God. But say if you're talking about Lucifer, they want that to be spoken right in your face, but not about God, right? So, you know, people are going to be put to death, let alone if we don't take that mark, that end result, the charagma, they're going to put us to death. Try to. The king not only issued the same decree throughout the whole empire, but he also appointed officials to supervise the people and commanded each town in Judea to offer pagan sacrifices. Many of the Jews were ready to forsake the law and to obey these officials. They defiled the land with their evil. So many Jews were ready to forsake the law and uh, to obey the king's order, right? It says, in their conduct forced all true Israelites to hide wherever they could. On the 15th day of the month of Kislev in the year 145, I believe this is the winter solstice. I believe, maybe I could be wrong. King Antioch or King Antiochus set up a awful horror on the altar of the temple, and pagan altars were built in the towns throughout Judea. Pagan sacrifices were offered in front of houses and in streets. They're defiling the whole Israel, right? It says any books of the law which were found were torn up and burned, right? This is going to happen, right? When you watch the movie Left Behind, even though it's a Christian joint, you see how the government's trying to take all the Bibles and put chemicals on it so it get people sick, right? I just was trying to use that as an example. But in the Greek captivity, anybody that had the laws, they would take it and rip it up. You see how it was a demon on these niggas. They didn't want us to serve our God. And this is why the Lord always say we serve the creation instead of the creator. It says anyone who was caught with a copy of the scarce books or who obeyed the law was put to death by order of the king. These other nations don't want us to follow our God. You want to know why? Because Yahweh Shema Shai is the only God. And if we yield to the Most High, all nations lose their power, right? So they have to break you down. That's why Esau butt broke us, right? It says months after months, these wicked people use their power against the Israelites caught in the towns. On the 20th and 5th month, these same evil people offer sacrifices on the pagan altar erected on top of the altar in the temple, right? They defiled our temple. And this goes into the Feast of Dedication, because the Feast of Dedication, they tore down the temple, they took it over. Well, Feast of Dedication is about Judas Maccabees reclaiming the temple, rebuilding the temple, and cleansing the temple, right? Dedicating it back to Yahweh Shem Shai. It says mothers who had allowed their babies to be circumcised were put to death in accordance with the king's decree. Hey, I or little man TJ or my brother Yarmayan or Adel Tahar, or it could be Sabak, right? Or it could be the brother Araya from HOI that could have been that young little boy that got circumcised and put to death, right? And this goes into the scripture we're talking about, right? Some of us could be one of these kids that couldn't even make it to go prophesy to Yahweh Shemal Shai. Even when you go to Second Maccabees, the 7th chapter, when you see the 7 kids get tortured, us men now living in this time, we out here probably teaching. We probably could have been one of them that actually died for the name of Yahweh Shemal Shai with integrity, right? 61, it says their babies were hung around their necks, and their families and those who had circumcised them were put to death. So me, I have to imagine my wife's little son getting hung by a tree from his neck just because he was physically circumcised. Those are fucking devils. I'm sorry for my language, but these are fucking devils, man. Killing our babies because we wanted to circumcise them. Are you freaking kidding me, man? And a lot of our people don't care about this. Is history, right? This live can be 10, 20 hours long. Not gonna lie to you, because our history is so long and true, right? It says many people in Israel firmly resisted the king's decree. Many people refused to eat food that was ritually unclean. And a lot of us is resisting America's way of life. Some of us is not even caring about TV. I want to watch something that's going to put me in the spirit or have me read the Bible, right? Some people don't want to be stuck in La La Land. Some people don't want to just be stuck smoking weed all day, right? Some women don't want to be on OnlyFans or showing their body half naked. Most women say, oh, I don't show my skin, but I take pictures and I turn my back around showing my booty. The real women of the Lord that were shamefaced and adore themselves, right? They didn't show their butts. That booty was for their husband. If they didn't have a husband, they was waiting. That's why what Kanye say? He said, we the new slaves. We became new slaves in America, man. In 63, it says they referred to die rather than break the holy covenant and eat unclean food, and many did die, right? So we have to understand, we have to strive for the truth until death. They want to talk about homosexuality. I'm going to talk about it. Stop that gay shit, right? I know YouTube is going to censor. It is what it is. I'm not saying kill somebody, stab somebody. In the future, what Hamashiach Yahweh Shai going to do is going to be great. But what I'm talking about is what thus saith the Lord, right? So back to G and T, read that verse again. There are others who there are others who are not remembered, as if they had never lived, who died and were forgotten, they and their children after them. But we will praise these godly men whose righteous deeds have never been forgotten, right? Their reputations will be passed on to their descendants, and this will be their inheritance, right? And this is why when you go to Deuteronomy, you go to Deuteronomy 6, right? This is why we gotta, instead of teaching your kids about Superman and all this dumb crack, Superman is really derived from the Egypt mythology, right? Right? If your spirit can really get it. Superman loves the sun, right? You know, how can white people love the sun? They got to put sunscreen on. Jake loved the sun. Superman gets stronger when he go in the sun. What do happen to Jake? They get blacker. There's the sun, their skin is protected by the sun. White people want sunscreen. Help me to help you. It all comes from their God called Ra. Ra, what does he symbolize? The sun, right? So Deuteronomy 6 and 7 says, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thy house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. You have to be diligent every day, daily. This goes for the women and men. But if the men is teaching the world, that's why the wives should be taking certain precepts that the husband is bringing out and teach the kids. Because women You have to know a lot of kids are kids is our oppressors, right? Let alone the women and the men. But women rule over us. Women is ruling over the men in some cases. But if a woman don't have the confidence to teach their kids, your kids rule over you. We allow our kids to go outside, get on tablets, get on the fucking PlayStation, get on video games, but you are not being diligent teaching your kids one scripture out the Bible. How about, because I do book, chapter, verse, how about men or the women try to do book, chapter, do a verse of the day with children and give them the understanding? Right now, we're in a very hard time. It says, let's read in the NLT. It says, repeat them again and again to your children. It has to be a constant thing, teaching your kids what to do and what not to do, right? Talk about them when you are at home and when you are on the road, when you are going to bed and when you are getting up. My other wife, Miss Adar, she's going to be on the road for 12, 13 hours to come here. Guess what she should be doing? Talking to them children about the Lord. There's nothing else you're going to be talking about for 13 hours on the road. So she should be repeating these words to them children, because especially she has 2 daughters. If you got sons, you should be teaching them about the kings, teaching them how to move like a king or a prophet or a husband. You have to daily teach your kids when you're on the road, when they're at home, when they're going to bed, and when the hell they get up. That might motivate them, right? Let me see. Just another one. Deuteronomy 4:9. It says, only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, daily, lest thou forget the things which thy eyes have seen, unless they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. See, it's really important you teach your sons, right? Let alone your daughters, but us as grown-ups. This is why I have to teach every day. I have to get a lesson. I have to come up with a lesson, or the Spirit is going to move me, and one precept is going to make a lesson, right? Because the Lord is telling us, keep thy soul diligently, right? Lest thou forget the things which thy eyes have seen. We're in the scriptures and we're seeing us from all the way from Jacob, all the way to Yahushua, all the way to the apostles, right? Then when you dig deep and you get in these precepts, it's going to have you like, yo, it's more to come. The past happened, but it's more to come, right? And these are the things we should be teaching our sons, because what if I die tomorrow and then TJ and these kids don't even know what's to come, right? And this goes even for the women. If you women are just lollygagging and you just think I got a good husband and you're not even trying to implant this ministry in your kids, what if your husband died? You want your husband to be 144,000 or the 1/3, but why he's exceeding to teach the whole nation, you should take what he's bringing out and feed it to that son. Because Sirach, I believe, chapter 34, I believe, when you die, your son take after you, right? My little man is not my physical blood, but he came in his ministry, so through the Spirit, he is my little man, right? So he would have to take after me. What verse did I need? Yeah, Sirach 30. Let me see. Okay, Sirach chapter 30 in the KJV, verse 4 says, though his father die, yet he is as though he were not dead. For he have left one behind him that is like himself. So that's what the father did. If the father died, he were not dead, for he have left one behind him that is like himself. The son is a reflection of him. That's why you're supposed to teach your son. When you look at verse 3, he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Right? You want to grieve the enemy when you're teaching your son book, chapter, verse. Let's see what it says in the GNT. Anyone who gives good guidance to his son can not only take pride in him among his friends, but he can make his enemies jealous, right? We have to move with good guidance when it comes to our children, let alone our son, right? Close the door. It says, while the father is alive, the sight of his son makes him happy, right? So while I'm alive, the sight of my little man, right, and me seeing my nephew Elijah, right, is going to make me happy. And when he dies, he has no regrets. I'm not going to have no regrets because I know that my brother Yan Mayan is feeding my nephew Elijah. I know through the spirit I'm feeding TJ. I know Sabak and the elders and the other brothers that have sons right through the spirit is feeding their sons. They're not going to have no regrets if they did pass away. It says he is not really dead because his son is like him, right? It's just like the Lion King. Mufasa died, but his son is a reflection of him, right? So now back to it. 10. But we will praise these godly men whose righteous deeds have never been forgotten. Their reputation will be passed to their descendants, and this will be their inheritance. Their descendants continue to keep the covenant and always will because of what their ancestors did, right? Their family line will go on forever and their fame will never fade, right? Hey, and through the spirit, and I really believe this because reincarnation, regeneration, we came back again. I believe a lot of brothers that come back in this truth and they come full force and sincere, it's all because of whoever your forefather was, whoever your ancestor was, that blood, right? Like he said, we're going to say it again, 12. Their descendants continue to keep the covenant and always will because of what their ancestors did. If you're in here right now, keeping the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of your ability, it's because of what your ancestors did on the righteous side. Their family line will go on forever and their fame will never fade. This is why through the spirit, some of these teachers are growing favor in God and men, just like Yahweh did in Luke, the 2nd chapter, right? Even if you only got 10 followers on YouTube and Facebook and they're still following you, it is what it is. Not every prophet had a huge gathering around them, right? Entertain your sister, please, Ariah, right? Verse 14, it says their bodies were laid to rest, but their reputation will live forever. When we look at Joseph, he was in Egypt, did mighty great things, and he was governor over Egypt, and he was an Israelite because he was sold because of his brothers was jealous of him. But he had a vision of this, right? And he died, and he was going to always be remembered. That's why we're able to talk about him now, right? Look at Jacob. We're going to always talk about Jacob wrestling. He's the first WWE wrestler. He wrestled with an angel, right? We're going to always remember Samson. Actually, let's go to, we're going to remember Samson when he killed 1,000 Philistines and when he killed them again when he tore down their pillars. We're going to remember when David slew a lion and a bear, which one weighs 400 pounds and one weighs 600 pounds, slew with his bare hands with a knife, and he was young. He was young. Let alone he knocked down a tall Goliath, which when I see it in 3 cubits, when I look it up, it says 9.5. So he was 9.5 from what I see, right? This is a good reputation, let alone Solomon had all the wisdom in the world. Look at Isaiah, look at Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Dan. Those were the major prophets, let alone we have the minor prophets. And I'm not going to forget Samuel because Samuel was the last judge, but he was smooth. What they say, smooth operator. Our forefathers have good reputations and we have bad reputations. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 7. Our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquity. Their reputation exceed because we're born their iniquity, right? We're born into this bullshit of sin, right? Nations will tell about their wisdom, and God's people will praise them. Feel me? And it is nations that talk about with Jacob and this, even though some of their understanding is a little sweetened off, right? It's always good to seek out your history, let alone let me just go to this one thing, because I was reading yesterday and I might as well just tap this in real quick. I'm gonna go to First Samuel, the 15th chapter, where I want to go. I believe verse 11. And I'm gonna read verse 10. We're gonna start at 10. It says, Then came the word of Yahweh unto Samuel, saying, It repenteth me, the Lord was sorry, I am sorry, that I have set Saul to be king, for he is returned back from following me, and have not performed my commandments. And it grieved Samuel, and he cried unto Yahweh all night. We are the same people that was kept saying, let's get a king, let's get a king. The Lord gave you a king. And this king basically went against the Lord damn near freaking twice, right? Right? Because long story short, when you go back to when we was about to fight the Philistines, Saul's son Jonathan went down, he killed. Bing, 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 bing. Saul said, nobody eat, nobody eat. And then this chapter, dealing with chapter 15, the Lord tells Saul to kill the Amalekites, right? When you look at verse 2, it says, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, I remember that which the Amalekites did to Israel, and how he laid wait for him in the way, and when he came up from Egypt. So this is where I say our history is so important. This is dealing with the Black Latinos and natives, but they're not called Black Latinos and natives. They're called by their tribes, right? And whatever their name is. When you go to Exodus, the 17th chapter, verse 8 to 4, Deuteronomy 25, verse 17 to 19, is going to show you what this is actually going into, right? And Saul did not kill everybody. What he did is he saved the king, let alone the Lord said, don't take nothing. Let's see. He says, now go smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep and camel and ass. Did y'all see the Lord say save any? You didn't see the Lord say save any, right? When you go all the way to verse 17, all the way to 23, it shows you Solomon starts saying, oh, I did follow the Lord. Let me see if this is right. 17, it says, And Samuel said, When thou was little in thy own sight, was thou not made the head of the tribe of Israel? And Yahweh anointed thee king over Israel. And Yahweh sent thee on a journey and said, Go and utterly destroy the sinners of the Amalekites, and fight against them until they be consumed. Wherefore, then didst thou not obey the voice of Yahweh, but didst fly upon the spoil? The spoil is dealing with the oxen, the asses, and the sheep. And didst evil in the sight of Yahweh. And Saul said unto Samuel, Yeah, I have obeyed the voice of Yahweh. Hey, that's that spirit of Peter. When Peter said, oh, I won't deny you. And his ass did later on. And you got Saul over here saying he did obey the voice. Did you not just hear Chris Tucker, did you not hear the words that came out of my mouth? You did evil in the sight of the Lord. But this is Saul getting boastful. I have obeyed the voice of Yahweh. I have gone the way which Yahweh sent me, and have brought Agag, the king of Amalek, and have utterly destroyed the Amalekites. But the people took of the spoil. He's going to tell them they took the spoil. Isn't Saul the king? Sheep, oxen, and chief of the king of these things which should have been utterly destroyed, to sacrifice unto Yahweh thy power in Gilgal. And Samuel said, Have Yahweh as great delight in offerings and sacrifice as in obeying the voice of Yahweh? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of ram. It is better to obey Yahweh than sacrifice, right? You nigga, oh, I sacrifice all these things, But in the later run, is you're gonna really be harder. It's people that say, "Yo, I want to come in this truth," but they still smoking a blunt, right? Some of us, if we do have the strength, we will go cold turkey, right? If you're real serious in your heart, you will drop everything. Then you will obey the voice of the Lord, right? 23, it says, "For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft." So if all our brothers and sisters that's rebelling against Yahweh Shem Yahushai, guess what? That is a sin of witchcraft, right? Let alone everybody has to find their role as a woman, as a wife, a husband, as a prophet. Play your role the best of your ability. If you rebel on your position, like women, oh, I'm not going to be a servant to a man. She's rebelling. Guess what? She has the sin of a witchcraft. And stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Hey, I'm stubborn, but we talking about stubbornness against Yahweh Shema Shai. So there's nothing wrong with being stubborn. Oh, hey, do you want to go out to let's go to this restaurant? No, I don't want to. It's okay to be stubborn. You don't want to, you can have hey, I don't want to because I don't want to spend money at no Esau business. I don't give a damn about that. All that food there we can make here. I don't want to. That could be something wise, right? Oh, hey, I don't want to go to amusement park. There's nothing wrong with being normally stubborn. It could be a reason why, but having stubbornness towards Yahweh Shema Shai, hell no. That's iniquity and idolatry, right? Because thou hast rejected the word of Yahweh, he have also rejected thee from being a king. And not even going to Hosea 4:6. If we want to be prophets, priests, and teach the word, and we're not constantly teaching it into knowledge, the Lord might actually reject us. Let alone we want to reject correction, we want to reject direction, right? The Lord might reject us, right? All right, let me get something to drink, right? Was that the main one? Yeah, that was the main part I wanted. Right? Yeah. And that shows you this is history. This is history of our forefather who was a king, right? And this is why I say, like I told my wife earlier, that this is why I don't believe brothers right now. A lot of brothers should not be in charge of congregations, right? A lot of us do not deserve like certain spiritual powers that the Lord give us, to discern of spirits or prophesying. A lot of brothers will boast, oh, I got this and you don't, or this is why I'm saying it, because of what Saul did, right? But it is some men through the spirit that actually move correctly, right? And I have to give out my flowers, regardless if I don't agree with their doctrine or if I do agree with their doctrine. The Lord has some men out here that's really moving correctly, right? That don't let their position get them so big headed, right? Let me see if anybody asking any. Oh, nobody asking questions. Okay, cool. I guess I should just go to it too, right? This is just history. I'm not gonna read this. It's just 1 Corinthians 10:1. It deals with learning from your past. If you can see it on the screen, verse 1-5, it shows you things that happen actually in the Old Testament. And this is why it's important for us to go read things that were written aforetime, because it's going to help us to understand what's in the New Testament and help us to be able to apply it in our lives right now. Right? We have to understand in verse 3, did all eat that same spiritual meat? What the hell is they talking about? In the NLT, spiritual food. When we actually go into these precepts, we understand the Lord was bringing manna, quail for Israel to eat, right? So that's why we always have to hop back and forth, right? You have to learn from your past, right? Like Romans 15:4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of scriptures might have hope. Right? This is important for us to devour what's in the past so we can know the future. Right? Because we're in a time where prophecies are going to be fulfilled, and we're waiting for these prophecies to actually take place. Right? Like, let alone uh we're waiting for Jacob's trouble. Right? Jeremiah 30:7, at last, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Right? And a lot of us need to find out what is Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble, a lot of us is not like, we're going to be scattered. And I'm not going to try to give you a whole rundown, but I'm going to give you something. Right? Lord willing, the Lord allow me to get it. Second Ezra is the 16th chapter. And I'm definitely not reading this in the GNTZ. We're going to go straight to the KJV. This whole chapter is fire. Fire, fire. Like when I tell you this joint is fire. Fire, fire, fire. Jacob's trouble. Jacob's trouble. Verse 17. Woe is me, woe is me, woe is destruction. Destruction is me, destruction is me. Who will deliver me in those days? Only Hamashiach Yahushua. Right? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings. Right? You know how a lot of us say, oh, it's a great morning. This is what we mean right here. Pains. The beginning of famine of the word and famine of food. Great death. The beginning of wars. Right? This is going to be the beginning of World War III. Right? The powers shall stand in fear in the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? But behold, famine, plague, tribulations, and anguish are sent as scourge of amendment. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth, that they shall think themselves to be in good case. Even then shall evil grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. Now I can keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. But I'll read verse 24. It says, for many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine. So some people are going to die from famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So the weapon that the nations are going to have, some people are going to die from famine, some people are going to die by the sword. And the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them, for the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. There shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. Right? Through the Spirit, I be trying to have my mind ready for those things, because if it was to come right now, I would not be ready for it. Right? So I wasn't trying to make this video too long, but Lord willing, I can do a part 2, because our history is very important. So with that, I'm going to say, call law Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakakwadash, death to America and death to Esau. Yahweh is the Most High God, and Yahushai is who the world any calls Jesus Christ. It's your brother, Adar Gabar. I love you to the kingdom and never back. Shalom.